Hey everybody, Nina here. I hope you're having a lovely Valentine's Day. I see people from all over the world, which is super exciting. So we're gonna dive right in. I know it's different times for everybody, so I wanna make sure we can get as much as we can in. So hi, I'm Nina. I'm the founder of She Knows SEO. I am obsessed with SEO and I love AI, so I'm really excited that Travelpayouts asked me to come on and teach y'all about it as well. So this is going to be the How to Use AI to Write Engaging, SEO-optimized affiliate articles masterclass specifically for travel bloggers, and we're going to dive right in. So before we start, some quick things. I think it's best to turn off your phone, give your dog a chew toy, put the kid in the other room as best you can to try and get rid of distractions. So close out of your emails, stop doing something else in another tab. You want to give your whole attention to this. There will be a recording sent out to you guys afterwards along with the slides, so don't worry about trying to make notes of absolutely everything I do. And in fact, I recommend just watching and then trying to do it with me when you watch the replay, because we're going to go through a lot together. And as we go, there will be a Q&A at the end, but I will not be answering questions in the middle. So put your comments and questions in the chat, I guess it's called, and we'll get to them at the end. And the best comment and question will be winning a free copy of my Jasper AI course for bloggers, where I go even more in depth into AI, talk about how to write more content at scale, write digital products and things like that to even further increase your income from your blog. So I'm super excited to get started. We're going to go through all of the agenda quickly. There's a lot we're covering. So you're going to learn a bit about me. We're going to debunk some AI myths. I love to debunk a myth. We're going to talk about how to use AI. Then we're going to actually use it together. I think it's best to learn by doing it with me. Then you'll get some key takeaways to kind of summarize what we did, and then we'll dive into the Q&A. And there's plenty of time for that, so just keep popping those questions in the chat. Before we get started, I wanted to get you guys set up. So the first thing you're going to need 100% is Travelpayouts. And when you sign up for a new account, you will get $50 on top of your first payout, which is super exciting because most of the time our first payouts are like the biggest thing for our site. So you'll get $50 on top of that. And then you're also going to need Jasper AI. Jasper is my favorite AI writer. You're going to need the boss mode plan. And with this QR code, you will get 10,000 words free when you start a new account, which is plenty to write like 5 affiliate posts, which is great. So now a bit about me. My name is Nina Clapperton. I'm the founder of She Knows SEO.co. I'm an SEO specialist and a 6-figure travel blogger. I'm also a Canadian, so I will probably drop some sorries and a boats as we talk. So listen up for the accent, it's quite fun. I'm a travel addict. I've lived in over 12 countries in just the last 10 years, and I have another 8 planned this year. I'm a dog mom to a golden retriever named Theo. You can see him in the picture. He travels everywhere with me. And I am just as obsessed about my dog as I am about SEO and helping you achieve financial freedom with your blog. I was able to quit my job this year at a law firm to do this full time, and honestly, it was the most freeing thing in the world, and I want that for you as well. So last month, I made over $31,000 USD from my primary travel blog. I made about $150 from my secondary blog. It's a new baby site that's growing. So this is just from my main travel blog. And where did that money come from? The majority of it, 63%, came from affiliates, which I think a lot of people assume affiliates are secondary to ad revenue, but ad revenue was only 9% of my income last month. And then the rest was sponsored emails and some digital products that I've created for that site. But really, affiliates are the driving force. And that's what I want to teach you guys today. But affiliates can't exist in a vacuum. We have to find a way to drive traffic to those posts in order for people to see them. And that's where SEO comes in. So last year, I grew my blog to 50,000 sessions in 6 months. And then 1 month later, I hit my first $10,000 passive income month. And in 1 month, you can see in this little magnifying glass I grew my site by over 14,000 sessions in just that 1 month, and that was entirely with AI written articles. I was working 4 jobs at the time, trying to afford my service dog training fees, and AI was really the way that I had the ability to create any content for my site at that time. So let's talk about some AI myths that we need to debunk, because I think these are what really hold people back from trying to use AI at all. So what is AI? AI isn't just writers. I think people think that AI writers are like new and AI is this brand new thing, but it's not. You've probably been using AI for a long time. So keyword research tools are a form of AI because they are using machine learning to scrape Google content and tell us about keywords. All SEO plugins are AI. So if you have Yoast or Rank Math or any of the myriads of other ones that I've never heard of before, you're using a form of AI. Then if you use Rank Math, Rank IQ, Phrase, Surfer SEO, Writer's End, there's so many of those ones where you optimize your post with like LSI keywords, and it gives you like the number of words your post should be and how many images and all that info. That's AI. That's just scraping what's on the top 10, learning what you need to include in your post, and then telling you what to include. And then lastly, what I think most people do recognize is AI content are Jasper and ChatGPT that are AI writers. And AI just stands for artificial intelligence. And so you can see that all of these are a form of AI because this automated intelligence is helping us do stuff with our blog and it's learning for us so that we then get that content delivered to us faster. Is AI going to replace bloggers? No, definitely won't. AI cannot work without us. So if you try to get ChatGPT or Jasper or Writer's End, or there's so many out there, to write a blog post for you and you give it no commands, nothing happens. I've literally opened up both ChatGPT and Jasper and said, write a blog post. And then I got nothing helpful back because I didn't give them instructions. An AI writer is basically just like a freelance writer that you're using to help you. And with AI replacing bloggers, people assume that one day it'll be so advanced. There's no benefit to it being that advanced, to be honest, and you would still need humans to run the whole thing. And also, we've been using it for a long time, and if it hasn't replaced us already, it's not going to. It just won't. Are AI writers ethical? I see a lot of people who think it's cheating to use an AI writer. In fact, one of my roommate's friends who was kind of minorly shaming me for my success and being like, oh, well, she's cheating because she uses an AI writer. And I sat there and I was like, is it cheating if I was using a calculator to add up a couple numbers? Is it cheating for cashiers to use like the big cash machine that's a giant calculator? No, it's just a tool. And it's a tool that everyone can use, which is why it's not cheating. It's not some secret thing that we are hiding or gatekeeping. That's why I teach a lot about it, so everyone can get to use it. And as well, just like a calculator, it can't run unless we put the numbers in. So with AI writers, that would be giving it a command, feeding it information and research. With a calculator, if you just press equals, nothing's happening, and it's exactly the same thing. People also say that it could be cheating because they think that you need to do all the work for your own site. And this is honestly a mindset block that achieving success has to be hard, that you have to be hustling and working and writing until 2 in the morning or 4 in the morning. I've been there, I've done that. It's not worth it. And if there's a way for us to outsource, which is what all of those like millionaires do, it's what all those big companies do. If we can do this for cheaper, a boss mode plan with Jasper starts at $59 a month, which is, I just hired, I think I have 25 writers now for myself. And for 50 or 60 bucks a month, I'm going to get maybe 3,000 words from like the cheapest writer I have. Typically that'd be 1,000 words. With Jasper, you can get 50,000 words for that. All this is doing is evening the playing field, so you don't need to be a millionaire to get started. Do AI writers plagiarize content? No, that would be so bad for them. If they plagiarize content, they would get shut down so fast. And a great way to test this is just to run the same command a couple times. And you will see, without you changing anything, that Jasper will give you a different output every single time. So plagiarism basically doesn't factor in, because what it's actually doing is that these AI writers have learned how to write like people. They've read a certain percentage of the internet, and they are using their base knowledge to write like a person about that topic, which is basically how we write. And so yes, there's always going to be, you have a post about things to do in Rome, it's going to mention the Trevi Fountain. So if you think that referencing the Trevi Fountain is plagiarism, then I guess it plagiarizes, but that's not really plagiarism. In fact, I have run so many of my articles through different plagiarism detectors. I've used Copyscape, I've used Grammarly's plagiarism detector, I've used Originality AI, and I will show you what Originality AI also says next. So here you can see these little check marks in the blue box. That shows that there is no plagiarism on either of these. So I did a test of ChatGPT versus Jasper. I ran the exact same command, which was basically to write a blog post about things to do in Rome at night. I did 0 editing, and so you can see no plagiarism from either one. You can also see this AI detection score. People think that Google recognizes AI content or cares, and really AI detection softwares aren't that great yet, but we can see that ChatGPT gets a 97% score, where Jasper gets a 66% score. And so while Google probably doesn't care that much, if you're really in its face that this is AI, they're going to be a little bit annoyed, because basically what that means is that it's not providing unique value. AI written content in Google's eyes is just repurposed content that they've seen a million times. It's exactly the same as if you read the top 10 results on Google and then just paraphrased it and added nothing new. That's not going to rank, not because it's AI, you could have written it, but because there's no helpful new information. So Google does say that they don't rank AI content. Back in April 2022, John Mueller, I don't know how to pronounce his name, I've only ever read it and realizing, but he says that content generated automatically goes against Google's terms and conditions and webmaster guidelines. However, they actually scaled this back a couple weeks ago and said, well, it's only if it's like not helpful content, which is what I've always said. And in fact, I've proven this time and time again. This first one up here is my 5th most popular post on my main site. It gets over 2,000 monthly page views, and it is a post that I wrote entirely with AI. On another one of my sites, that baby site I mentioned that made about $100, $150 in January, I have written about 30 posts now, and 28 of them are entirely AI, and it's ranking. It still is a little site, it's growing, but this is actually a couple months ago. This month it just hit 4,000 sessions. So 100% AI content ranks. So why should we use AI? Why wouldn't we just do it all ourselves? Well, you could do it all yourself, but it's going to take you so much longer. And I don't know about you, but I don't have 3 years to wait to write the 140 posts that on average you need to get into Mediavine. I don't have 3 years to wait to start making passive income from my site. When I was working for the law firm, even 2 months ago, I didn't want to wait to leave. I wanted to be done with that because I wanted this to be what I did for my life. And I know for you guys as well, a lot of you are stuck in jobs that you're not happy with. A lot of you aren't able to spend time with your family because of it. And AI can help you get that time back. It can help you create over 100,000 words of new content every single week. I've had weeks where I've done that and even more. It can help you write an ebook in an afternoon. I also did that. I wrote a 63-page ebook in about 3 hours and then had it ready and up on my site making money within another day with formatting. And it can help you rephrase similar posts. How many of us have had to do the things to do in Rome, things to do in Rome at night, things to do in Rome with kids posts where they're basically the same? And I'm more likely to plagiarize myself than an AI tool is. So Jasper AI can help you fix that. Now, how can you use AI to help you with this? You can use AI to make money. We don't want to spend money on something if it's not going to make us money. So here are some ways that you can use AI to make money: ad revenue, digital products, and affiliate marketing. And we're going to dive into affiliate marketing now because honestly, it is the most lucrative way to use AI content. So I want to walk you through what I do to write an affiliate post, and then we're going to go and actually write one together. So before you even start your post, you have some work to do. You have some homework. You first need to go into your keyword research tool. My favorite is KeySearch. Honestly, it's also the most affordable. You're going to find your keyword, and you're then going to go and look it up on Google to see who's ranking, what's the purpose of it. You want to make sure you know the user intent because you want to write for that. So if you're writing about private hotel transfers and you're instead talking about the bus, that's not what those people are looking for. They're looking for the private hotel transfers. Even if you don't think it's super helpful, that's what those people want. Then you're going to go on to Travelpayouts and you're going to find the right affiliates for it. And you'd be surprised how many affiliates are on there. We're going to look in a second, but like, oh my God, there's so many I'd never heard of before. And it's great because you can even factor in extras. So for example, in a things to do in Rome post, you'd think to use tours, and you might even think to use hotels. But would you think to use a car rental company? Would you think to use something about travel insurance? Maybe not, because they're not right in front of you, but with Travelpayouts, they are. Then you're going to outline your post. Outlining is so important. We never want to skip outlining or researching. And these things have to happen because AI writers are just writers. They are not researchers. So they can't come up with stats for you. They can't comb the web to get that information. You have to do that. And one of the biggest things I see people complain about with AI writers is like, it's not really giving a lot of information, or it's giving thin content, or it's off topic. And usually what they did is they didn't write an outline. You can keep it on track. You can keep it hyper relevant if you have a really good outline. And if you've done research yourself that you then share with the AI. Then while I'm writing it, these are some things that I keep in mind. So first is EEAT. It used to be EAT. Google added another E. So now it's like EAT, I guess. And that stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. So with that, you want to make sure that you are basically in every single post, and I usually try to do this in my intro, telling them, I've done the thing, that's why I know about this. Expertise, why should they listen to you? Why are you the best person to help them? Authority is kind of backing up that expertise and showing that you have actually got the knowledge or the credentials or whatever to back it up. And then trustworthiness, you include stats and figures that are relevant. You link to external sources. Basically, all this means is you show that you've done the thing or you've done something close enough to it, that you know about the thing, and you can help them do the thing. Those are kind of the three elements of it to make it very simplistic. It's not something super scary or fancy, really. Then you're going to include pros and cons of each item. And this doesn't have to be a literal pros and cons section. I think a lot of people get stuck on that. It can just be including notes about it. So for example, if you're talking about wine tours and one is a private tour and one is not a private tour, include the pros and cons of each of them. So this private wine tour is amazing. You're going to get to get a more personal experience. It's just you and your family, but it's more expensive. For someone, that's not a con. They don't care. But for someone else, money is going to be their biggest issue, their biggest pain point. So then you're going to say with the next one, this giant group tour is really cheap, but it has more people. Because remember, the pros and cons for each thing are going to vary based on the actual person you're talking to. So like someone who is traveling with their 8 kids and is just trying to go on a budget, they probably want the cheapest thing. They're probably also not doing a wine tour because you don't want to bring 8 kids to that. But someone else who's maybe on a honeymoon, they're splurging, they don't mind spending that extra money because they want the privacy. They want that cultivated experience that's just for them. So including pros and cons doesn't mean saying this blender breaks the second you touch it. It means saying, okay, this blender is really noisy and it's really powerful, but maybe you don't want that because you blend your smoothies at 4 a.m. while your roommate's still asleep. It's just making that clear. And then you want to think about who the user is. A lot of posts I see do not consider who their person is that they're talking to. So if you're talking to a couple on a honeymoon, or you're talking to a single person, or you're talking to a retiree, those are very different types of language and things that those people care about. So if we're looking at that wine tour, the retired person probably just wants something nice to do. The couple's looking for something romantic. The single person is looking for group tours where they won't feel alone. That's really what you need to consider as you write it. Otherwise, if you don't, and I see this so often, it reads like a general magazine and I never see myself in it. So I don't want to book that thing because I don't feel like my needs have been addressed. And then after you've written the post, when you're uploading it to your site, there's a couple extra steps. You have to convert the links to affiliates. You can't just put links straight on your site. So that's where you go into Travelpayouts to do that. You're going to add a tracker or sub ID. Some people call it a UTM. I'm going to show you guys how to do that, don't worry. But this is important to keep track of which of your posts are making you money. Pardon me. So for example, if you have this wine tour that you've put on 4 different posts on your site, you're going to know it's converting, but you won't know which of those posts is doing well for you and converting well. Lastly, you want to make it super easy to buy. You want that link to basically be a giant billboard that's like, link here, book this thing, because a lot of people are giving us about 1% of their attention. They're busy at Starbucks getting their morning coffee. They are listening to their boss yell at them out of the corner while they're trying to plan a trip that they can get away from this. They are not hunting for links, and we want to make this super easy for them. Okay, so now we are going to dive into actually doing an affiliate post together, and I'm super excited for this. So we're just going to share my screen. Oops. Perfect. Okay. So the first thing we're looking at here is key search. Like I said, key search is my favorite place to find keywords. It's about $120 a year. It's super cheap. And what I found here is one that's wine tasting in Rome. So it's an easy keyword because it's green. We can see it has a high search volume. Affiliate posts have high search volume. They can actually help you get into ad networks. I think a lot of people feel like it needs to be one or the other. So I found this wine tasting in Rome keyword for us. I double checked down here that it was actually a decent keyword because it has blogs ranking for it. And it's pretty easy. There's not everyone's not a DA 99. The next thing I do once I find the keyword is I would usually do this in an incognito tab, but I'm just doing it in normal one for the purposes today. I put it into Google. And so you're going to want to go into an incognito tab solely so that your past history is not going to impact this. So for example, if you search about Rome all the time, it's going to learn your searches and then try to tailor the results. So I just put it in, that way I can take a look at what's ranking. So here, first I see some ads ranking, and that's usually a good sign because if a tour company is willing to spend money to promote this keyword, that means there's money to be made from this keyword. Then I can see, so there's TripAdvisor, we saw Get Your Guide and Viator, and then we also have some blogs down here. And then what I'm also looking at is what is the intention? So when I think of wine tasting, I actually think of going and doing it for free by yourself and not going on a tour. It's not free, you pay the vineyard to do it, but I wouldn't think of a tour. However, when I look at all of these, I'm seeing a lot of tours. And that tells me that Google has figured out that people want tours from this. So regardless of what I think, I'm going to write this as a tour post. Then the next thing I'm looking at is how many tours does everyone else talk about? So I see 8, I see 7, I see 8. TripAdvisor will always say 10 and Viator will always say 10. It's just like a default in their coding, so I kind of ignore them. So what I see here is that on average, we have about 8. So I'm going to try to include more than that. This is a form of basically providing more than your competitor. I like to call it the improv rule, where it's like you yes and what everyone else does. So everyone else says 5 things, you're going to say 6. Because realistically, someone looking at the top results are going to go, okay, so everyone else has 6 or 7. this person has 8. They probably include even more than those people, but they probably also include what all those people have too. So I'm not going to have to go anywhere else. So for this one, I'm going to do at least 9, but I'm going to look at what the options are on Viator or Get Your Guide or whichever affiliate I'm choosing to see if there are more options. If there's only 8, I'm not going to make up a tour. I'm just going to do 8. So next we have to pick our affiliate. This is where I go on to Travelpayouts. I've selected tours and activities, so we're only seeing those, but you can really helpfully sort by the type of thing you want. So if you're looking for trains and buses, if you're looking for cruises, if you're looking for car and bike rentals, this is really great because it means you can find it immediately. I used to go on CJ or on Skimlinks or on all those other ones to try and hunt down who are my affiliates? I don't remember, I can't find it. Here I can find them super easily. And you get all the information about the tour right here. So I learn exactly what percentage of the commission I'll make and how long the cookie is. I'm not going to deep dive into that. Travelpayouts does have some other webinars that go into more about this and some great blog posts on this as well. But essentially, I would look for whoever I want to use for tours. My personal preference is Viator. It converts best for me. Or Get Your Guide. It also works quite well. It just depends on the location of your tours. So for this one, I'm going to use Viator. You can see both have an 8% commission rate, and they have a pretty long cookie, which is nice because it means that people can look now, buy later, I'll make money. And I'm all about making some money off of this. Then we're going to dive right into our AI writer. So this is Jasper. I have pre-populated this because we have a limited period of time. I do not want to take all your time with me typing out a full outline. So I want to talk a bit about what we're seeing here. So this is Jasper Boss Mode. If you have Jasper and it doesn't look like this, that means that you're on the starter plan, which they've actually started to phase out because they realized Boss Mode is where it's at. I'm in a new document. It's just a blank document. They have workflows. I don't like them. I like to use my own methods instead. And when you first get here, it will be completely blank. Kind of looks like a Google Doc that way. So we're going to need to add some stuff. First, we're going to go up here and we're going to add our title. So I just copy whatever title I make and paste it up here. And I just added Travelpayouts, so I knew that it was for this webinar. If my keyboard would turn on, there we go. So Jasper pulls from all these areas I'm going to talk about, which is why we want to populate them. So the content description or brief is really where you, let me just zoom in for you guys. There we go. The content description and brief is where you would input information that's kind of background info. So it's almost like those notes that you might leave for your writer beneath a header. This is where you put the info here. This is also where you'd put instructions like this post is for X people. This post is going to be written in this tone. This post is meant to sell people on tours. Basically, it's you just giving Jasper some information, very much treating him like a beginner writer. That's what I do. I treat him like a freelancer. Then beneath that, we have tone of voice. You're going to want to determine a tone of voice because Darth Vader and Oprah are going to sell us a wine tour in a very different way. And so you want to learn what your own tone of voice is when you do this. So there's actually a tool in Jasper where you can copy and paste some of your own content, and Jasper will tell you what your tone of voice is. So mine, what I got, which is what I've kind of always used anyway, is engaging, casual, informative. Because it's fun, it's engaging, but it's like talking to a friend, but I'm still going to fill it with information. I'm not just going to say every 2 seconds and not actually fill it with content. And then the last thing is you're going to put in your keywords. So you can put in up to 3 keywords. I only ever put in my primary keyword. This is because Jasper used to have a bad habit of keyword stuffing. He's gotten over that, to be honest. He's pretty good now, but old habits die hard. I just kind of leave it out because usually I build my secondary keywords into headers anyway. So now we're going to start writing. So over here, I've got my title and I've formatted it as an H1. That way Jasper knows it's a title. And you can see throughout, I've already formatted things. So we have an H2 here for our tour heading and such as we go through. I'll talk through why I did the outline this way in a moment. But to start, we're going to write our intro. And so I've included 4 different kinds of ways that you can write this intro. Essentially, you're going to give Jasper a command. You're going to tell him to do something. So if I just started here and started having him run and write stuff with no information, I don't know what he's going to do. And that's a problem because we have limited number of words with Jasper, and we don't want to tell him or not tell him to do something and then waste thousands of words. It's not going to help us. We want to get the best output we can. So here's a couple of different kinds of commands that I would use. And you'll notice a similar structure of them. So I tell him to write an engaging introduction. You can say intro, he knows the short terms, about the best wine tasting tours in Rome for couples in love on their honeymoon. This is me telling him who he's writing to. So he has our purpose. He's going to be writing about the best wine tasting tours in Rome. He has our audience for couples in love on their honeymoon. And I've told him exactly what type of content we're writing. So it's an introduction. Below, we also have write an introduction that convinces people to go on a wine tasting in Rome. This one doesn't have who we're talking to, but because it's in our title, he's going to know and he'll pull from this. We also have write an introduction about the best wine tasting in Rome, reference my love of white wine. This adds in that personal element of my connection to the piece. And then we also have just a fun one that I probably wouldn't actually write, but he would do it. Write an introduction about the best wine tasting in Rome from the perspective of a glass of wine, and he would. But we're going to run this first one here because honestly, I think this is the best one. We have write an engaging intro, so that's the thing he's going to do. We include our keyword and kind of what our focus is, and then we include who the people are. So I'm just going to make some space here. Now, to run commands with Jasper, there is this little info button here. It's a little eye. If you click on that, he will teach you the keyboard shortcuts. So Command J, anywhere where you have a cursor, he will continue from what you've been writing. So it's kind of like a dot, 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 and then he'll just keep going. Command Enter is when you have a command like this, and then you want him to actually take that command on board and run with it. And if you do Command Shift Enter, he will leave the writing that you have here. He'll leave that on the screen so that you can adjust it if you decide, I don't really like that output. So I'm going to minimize that, and we're going to do Command Shift Enter. So you can see he highlights it, he thinks for a second, and then he starts writing. So we'll give him a moment to write it. So scroll so you guys can see. So here we've got our new intro. Rome is a romantic city filled with stunning architecture, delicious cuisine, and of course, some of the best wine tasting experiences in Europe. Then it goes, whether you're on your honeymoon or simply looking for an unforgettable date night, so he's focused on couples because that's what we wanted, you can take part in the experience, there's no better way to experience Rome than by taking part in one of its renowned wine tasting tours. Then it talks about different ways you could do the tours in cellars or paired with local delicacies. I didn't tell him that. He came up with that. And it does help that I know the tours below do include both of those things. He references the number of wine tasting tours, so you can see he's looking at that title to see the information. And makes an unforgettable experience for couples in love, because I told him this is couples in love. So grab your partner and get ready to embark on a journey through the flavors and aromas that have made Italy famous around the world. That's a really strong intro, to be honest. The only thing that it's kind of missing that I would usually do is I like to start most of my posts immediately satisfying user intent. So I actually just say, are you looking for the best wine tasting in Rome? I've got you covered. Because number one, for SEO, it's really good to have the keyword in the first sentence in exact form. Number two, it immediately tells a user who's skimming, I've got your back, I'm going to do exactly what you want. Now, another thing that I notice is missing is that it doesn't include any personal experience of, Nina, have you been on this wine tour? Are you a barista, are you a bartender? Are you a sommelier? Who are you to tell me? So I've actually lived in Italy. I do have my bartending certificate, and going on one of these tours helped me fall in love with wine. So what you can say add in that I've taken wine tasting tours in Rome, and it fostered a love of wine that turned me into a bartender. Command Shift Enter, and we'll let him run. I don't know why he put quotes there, but he did. But you can see that this is helpful. So I've been fortunate enough to have taken several wine tasting tours in Rome, and it's definitely one of my favorite places to experience some of the best wines Europe has to offer. The romantic atmosphere and stunning views make it the perfect destination for couples in love, and I can honestly say that these, okay, I need you to move out of the way. Oh, sorry, I should mention this. So what's happening here is Jasper's trying to determine if what he told me is good or not. So if I click the up, like the thumbs up, that means it was good, he'll leave it. If I click thumbs down, he will return the word count. So if Jasper writes stuff you don't like, you can return 10% of your monthly word count. So if you have a 50,000 word plan, 10% of that is 5,000 words. So if he writes 5,000 words of nonsense ever, you just hit this thumbs down and it'll go away and it'll be returned to your account. For this one, I'm fine with it. So I just want to see what he said. I can honestly say that these experiences have fostered a real love and appreciation. And I could just type of wine, or I could hit Command J and let him finish the thought for me. An appreciation for the world of wines that has turned me into a bartender. So if you're looking for the best wine tasting in Rome, look no further. Here are 15 of my favorite tours guaranteed to make your visit even more special. And then he actually wrote a command for himself. So we don't need that little command bit. We'll get rid of that. And I don't need the quotes. What I would do from here is I would kind of Frankenstein these two intros together. I really like this one, but I just don't want it to end here. So, because if we end on this line, then it doesn't really flow into this next bit. So I would actually copy this line because I like it better as an ending. I'm going to take out my command in the middle. And then I don't like this ending as much. So I'm going to end on this one. And there we go. I've Frankenstein together an intro that I like. All I really need to do here now is put different line breaks, because I do try to keep my sentence or my paragraphs as short as possible to be 1 to 3 sentences. But now we have a great intro that's really well done. It answers EEAT. It tells my user that I'm going to help them. And now we can dive right into the actual post. So when you're writing a blog post with Jasper, here are a couple commands that will help you. The very first one, and this is what we're going to use for our first tour that we're going to go into, is to write a blog post about this wine tasting. And because I say this, it'll look at the one that I'm referencing from the H2, including the information in the content brief in the post. So the content brief is this thing over here. And so the way that I would do this, you can see I've got this tour here, this Tuscany day trip. So I went onto Viator. I'm going to make this bigger for y'all. And I took a look around. So I wanted to find out some information about this tour. And this is where research comes in. So I look at the cost, I look at the number of reviews and the star rating. Then I come down here, I look at how long the tour is, because people want to know if it's a 1-hour tour that costs $1 million versus a 12-hour tour that costs $1 million. People are going to determine what is worth their money. And then I come down to this overview information here, where I can find out some stuff like, okay, you get a 3-course lunch. I can see that your historic hill towns perched in the hills of Tuscany. That's kind of cool to say. You get to go to a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Those are all information pieces that I would include in the bullet point list over here. And you can see I did include some of them, like the 3-course lunch. Now, I like to include even more than my competitors, and most people really stop here, but we want to include even more than that. So I'd come down to the What's Included section. If you click See More, you get to see all the information about the tour. So you can see sometimes it'll include things like if it's wheelchair accessible, if it's near public transport, different languages it's in. For this one, you have to have audio headsets, which likely means there's more people on it. So you'll get a lot more information here. You'll also find out what's not included. So if it is a hotel pickup and drop off, I'd want to include that because that's something that could convince people to book. But other people don't care, so you might not have to include it. I don't really care about the meeting point but I might care about the start time. Because let's say, like, I recently did a post about Northern Lights tours. A lot of them leave really late at night because you kind of go overnight to see the lights in Canada at night. But for a wine tour, some people don't want to start till 2 p.m. So a 7:30 a.m. start might be a deal breaker for them. Then you have down here what to expect. It gives you more of an overview. And typically this is a great place to actually learn what the locations are you go to. And sometimes it'll even include like the name of the vineyard for something like this. So I would read through that, pick out any that I think are of interest. And then again, we have this additional information here. And this is a place where you're going to get even more. So I can see it's a maximum of 50 travelers. So in that example I gave you guys earlier, I mentioned some people want a private tour. They don't want 50 people. Other people are chill with that. They don't care about being on a giant bus tour. You're also going to want to note, especially in Italy, this is a big thing, that some places you do have to be appropriately covered, especially for women, so you can't wear a sundress. So that's something I'm going to want to tell people to help them, because how much would it suck to go on this tour? You wear a sundress, you can't do half of it. That would be horrible. So you're going to want to make that clear. As well, it says they must take dietary requirements into account for people if you have to tell them about it. So that's really good. For me, I'm celiac. If I want to go on tours in Italy, I would love to eat pizza, but I can't. So I've got to tell them, hey, could you please make sure there's something I can eat? It's not pizza. And that would be something that would matter to me if I was booking a tour. So I know it would matter to some of my users. Now, another place a lot of people don't look is in the reviews. And people think to look at maybe a couple of the 5-star. I look at the low reviews too. So here we can see someone had like a 2-star review. Let's look at why. Because sometimes, honestly, these people are just being kind of cranky and bitching about something. But most of the time, there's something in there we can note. So for here, they're like, we were not allocated seat numbers. I wouldn't care about that at all. I would think on a bus tour, that's completely irrelevant. But for someone, that might matter. It might be that someone really wants to sit in certain spots. And that's what I'm seeing here. It looks like one of the passengers was just like kind of crazy. And that's super unfortunate. This does seem like an isolated incident, but I might say seats aren't allocated. So be prepared to like change seats if it matters to people. I would also look at other people's like good reviews of the tour to see what they liked. So it was well planned, the time was good, they didn't make you feel rushed. That's a really good note. And what I do with all this information, I just copy it into a bullet point list. You can see some of these ones down here with the exclamation points. Those are specific things that I pulled from the reviews that I found. And I just include the link here for later. Jasper cannot read links and go to the site and like pull information for you. I think a lot of people think it can. So now I'm just going to highlight all these points, copy and paste it into the content brief. And it removes the bullet, but that's fine. But I do like to input the name of the tour ahead of it, just that way Jasper knows which tour it corresponds with. So now I'm going to copy this command here. So we're going to have him write a blog post about this tour, including this content brief information. So Command Shift Enter. Oops. This is a great example. Sometimes things go wrong. So what he's done here is he's starting to tell himself a longer command, including information from over here. And actually, this is too long of a command. If I tried to run this command, I'm just using these arrows, sorry to clarify, you don't need to use them. I'm using them to show you guys that it's a command so you can see it, but you don't need to use them. But if I tried to run this really long command that he has, you can see he says commands must be about 50 words. This is a lot longer than 50 words. He's gone a little bit overboard. So I would just get rid of that. There's some ways that we can adjust this now to get him to give us the right command. So you can just say, write a blog post about this wine tasting and get rid of the content brief because he's naturally going to include it. I could say, write a blog post about and then use the name of this tour. There's so many different ways. I could write period and add some of the information to it. Basically, I'm going to go with the easiest way here, which is just to revert back to write a blog post about this wine tasting. Now, why do I say blog post and not paragraph? Because for a paragraph, that's a lot shorter. It's not going to be as long. It's not going to be like the structure of a blog post. And Jasper does understand when you say to write a blog post that he's writing a section of it. So he's going off here. I'll give him a moment. But essentially, we're just asking him to write this post in a different way. So here we've got, look no further than this one, or oops, I missed the start of it. Are you looking for the perfect way to experience Rome with your partner? Look no further than a wine tasting tour. On this special day trip from Rome, so he is referencing this one, he's just not used the name of it, and that's something you might want to edit and change. On this special day trip from Rome, you and your significant other can explore the renowned, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because I haven't lived in Italy. I was 16 when I lived there. I don't remember how to say anything in Italian. To sample some of the best wines. Knowledgeable local guides providing a dedicated audio headset, so he pulled that right from here. You'll get a 3-course lunch on the Tuscan farm, unforgettable experience, so grab your partner and get ready to embark. I don't know why he did this, but basically he wrote a second version of it, and that sometimes happens. So you can Frankenstein the two together if you want. You can get rid of this one if you want to. Again, this would be something where you could return some of that output that he gave. I clicked away too fast, so I couldn't have done it. But this is quite a short little piece here. Like, that's not enough, in my opinion, for what I would want this post to include. So that's where you might want to use some of these other commands. So this one here is write a blog post about this wine tasting, including, and then you write the feature that you really want him to focus on. So down here, he didn't talk about the free time that you get to explore this local area. He didn't talk about the way you're supposed to dress or the number of people on the tour. So I might say to write a blog post about this wine tasting, including, and I would specifically address those 3 things. And then just put like, how to dress, comma, and then list more. Your commands can be long. They can be 50 words. So I could even say including feature. Remind them, oops, I can't type and talk at the same time. Remind them to include, to bring a shawl. Basically, that's it. Another way is to include a feature to benefit. So a feature to benefit is where he takes the feature, like there are 50 people, and then writes why that's good for people. And this is a really great thing. So to do this one, you just structure it like you include the benefits in a list like this, or the features, and then beneath it, you say, write the feature to benefit. You can also have him write an AIDA, which is an attention, interest, desire, something else. I don't remember the word for it, but essentially he will structure it kind of like a quick sales pitch. And lastly, you can have them write a blog post about this wine tasting in Rome, including something personal about you. So there is one tour on this list where they do a local gelato tasting. I really love gelato. I'm going to include that. But for the sake of time, we're going to keep moving. So the next way you can do this, we have another tour here. I pulled a bunch of info. This way is what people might consider cheating. I'm going to explain why it's not. So I'm going to use 3 asterisks up here so that Jasper can't see what I did above. So he's not going to copy my previous structure. And I'm going to remove everything from the content brief. Now, one of my competitors, I've pulled them up here, usebounce.com, never heard of them. But they have tours here. So what I can do is I can copy one of their tours and paste it into Jasper. I'm going to just number it so it looks similar to the structure of ours. I have to make it an H2. There we go. And now if I come down here and I put the information for this tour in our content brief, and I have Jasper I'm just going to hit Command J and have him write. What he's doing is he's not copying our competitor. He's copying their patterns. Jasper uses pattern recognition to, it does look like he's referencing it. I'm going to have to adjust the command for this. But he uses pattern recognition to see how they structured the internal bit of their blog post. So for example, it mentions the time it takes. It mentions that you get great insights into the city and stuff like that. It mentions where it goes. This is a great way if you're finding that you don't know how to structure your affiliate posts to get it to kind of pre-populate a structure. So I'm going to say, write a blog post about pasta making with wine tasting and dinner and fresh. And so he'll just run this, but you can see, so he's referencing the time, which he didn't do in the one above, or pardon me, in like the first one we wrote, but he sees that it's in here. So he's going to pull that kind of the type of info we want and create a different style of blog post. This is really, really helpful, especially when you're first learning to do this stuff. And again, he's not copying anyone else's content. He's just copying the structure. And this is really, really great to get him to pull certain information that you think they definitely need to include because all my competitors have it. So this is pretty short, but we could definitely have him, again, expand in the ways I talked about above. And as you go, if you do this once with your competitor and then keep things running, Jasper will look at what's above to see the pattern. So he looks about 1,200 characters above, and then we'll pull patterns. So this is why we edit as we go. If I don't like how short this is, I need to change it now, because otherwise he's going to see this is the length you want for everything beneath it. So AI writers, again, they can't do it by themselves. They're like a beginner editor. We have to give them notes and we have to edit things. So lastly, I wanted to include another example. This is kind of worst case scenario. Nothing else is working for you. You're not enjoying the way that you are writing with Jasper. So what I did is I found one tour here and I wrote the post for it. So I wrote what I wanted this exact, I'll just highlight the whole thing so you can see how long it is. I wrote the description of the tour, and this is what I want Jasper to do. I want him to write something that's this intense and has this much detail. So just like above, basically exactly the same as our example number 2 is I'm going to be the sample now. Rather than having a competitor that I copied and pasted, my writing that I pre-wrote is now going to be the pattern recognition that Jasper is going to follow. Let me just clear that. Now if I go down to number 4, I'm just going to say write a blog post. Just because we're running out of time, so I don't want to spend too long writing the commands. And we'll give it a moment to populate. So scroll down and see what he's doing. So you can see he's done it again a little bit shorter. That's partially because I have so much short stuff above. But he has included the name of the tour. Just like the one I have above, he's included the hours it takes, number of people. There's just some minor edits you'll have to do along the way. If I was doing this fully as a post, I would be editing in more detail as we go. I would write these. So you're just going to input the information in bullet points and then use one of these 3 methods to guide Jasper. Then you're going to look at his output. You're going to adjust it and edit it to whatever you want to do, and then you'll move on to the next tour. And as you keep going, it will get easier and easier and easier. Usually the first 1 to 3, you have to do a bit more editing, but then as you keep going, he really locks in the pattern. And suddenly you've got 15 that'll be done. So I just want to address the conclusion quickly because conclusions do really matter. So you're going to want to write an engaging conclusion about whatever tour name that is the best to tell him, I really like this one. Or you're going to have him reference another post on food tours for an internal link that you just like name which one it is on your site. You can write a serious conclusion if you want to change the tone of voice. So let's just run the first one so we see what it looks like. And so I didn't tell him which tour, so he just picked one, and that's fine. And he's gone into a bunch of detail here. So we've got a nice little conclusion about why that tour is best and everyone should take it. And that's really all you have to do. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and go back to the slides. Perfect. Okay. So as you can see, there's tons of ways to do this, but really the details you need to know are that you need to include your own outline and you have to research as you go and research ahead of time and update as you go. It's massively important. Then to create these high quality outputs, you want specific commands where you target your ideal audience, you have him copy different patterns, and you are going to keep editing continually. Then, to fix common issues I've seen people have with AI writers, you're going to use 3 asterisks to block text from his view so he can't see above what you've done if, let's say, it's kind of off topic or you didn't like what was happening, or if he is just saying the same thing over and over again. You can restructure commands like I did when he didn't give an output that I liked. If it's repeating himself or it's too short, you need to change the information, give another command, input more research to help him out. And tone of voice will change a piece. Like I said, Darth Vader and Oprah will have very different perspectives on what wine tour for you to take. Now, I covered a lot here, and I know we're going a bit over time because of it, but I really wanted to give you guys all the commands. If you want even more commands, I have a free ebook for y'all called The Best Jasper AI Commands for Bloggers. You'll get the link to this when you get the slides, and I include commands for even more than just writing blog posts. And don't forget to join Travelpayouts, y'all. You're going to need to do this to use all of their amazing affiliates. So thank you so much for joining me. I am Nina, and you can find more of my stuff on sheknowsseo.co. So we are now going to open it up to the comments and questions. And I want to thank everyone. I see that there's so many, and I really appreciate that. I know I went into a ton of detail. So yeah, let's dive into some of the questions. So far the tool looks easy to use. I wonder how long it takes to really learn it. It doesn't take that long, to be honest. I don't think you need to know every single thing a tool does. You just need to know like the most important stuff. So I learned it in a month with no tutorials, no help. And I made a lot of mistakes and I wasted a lot of words. So if you have a course like mine or an ebook like mine, it will speed that up. And I do think it just takes a couple blog posts. Seems like you're doing an extensive amount of work as you should and have to put in so many commands. How does this save any time with AI as you've done most of the writing already? I haven't really written though, that's the thing, is I haven't come up with unique turns of phrase. I've just inputted exactly like what the tour site had. And if I just put that out there, I'm plagiarizing. So you do actually need that written content. And it'd be the same, this is like exactly the same as I've seen a lot of people deliver to their freelance writers. When I was a freelance writer, that's what people delivered to me. And rather than paying someone to do that fill in the blank stuff, you would use AI to do it. But you do have to do the research. Otherwise, yeah, you're not providing the firsthand information, and then you're not going to rank on Google. If you generate a post through AI, but then manually edit parts of it with human power, can you get around detectors? Yes, but even with the right commands, you can get around detectors without having to do a lot of editing. Detectors aren't great, to be honest. They're mostly just looking at how similar is it to the top 10 of Google already, and what new information do you provide. So if you include something like the I love gelato bit, that's unique enough. And if you include like unique stuff in your outline and research as well. What are your thoughts on using different affiliates in the same post? For example, Viator and Get Your Guide. I think that's fine. I do try to pick one that converts best for my site. I did a bunch of tests on this. I used a program called Affiliate that helps you like track data of like who's clicking where and use heat maps and stuff. But you don't really need that much. You can kind of just look at which one is making you more money after a couple posts. I come from Canada and a lot of tours aren't on these programs, so I do sometimes have to use two. And I think it's fine as long as you check the terms and conditions for each one. Sometimes they don't let you use their links in tandem with somebody else's, but it's not super common. So I would think it's totally fine. I've done it. What converts best for you? A hot link within a sentence, click here at the end of the paragraph, or something else? I didn't have time to cover this, but I create a little yellow paragraph. So it's just a paragraph. I change the background color to like a light yellow. You'll see tons of examples of this on sheknowsseo.co if you go and take a look. And then I just include a sentence that's kind of a take action sentence, like buy now, or check availability and prices, or whatever. I don't find click here helps because it doesn't tell them what to do. So it's like, I would choose something instead like book the best tour here, or the check availability and prices has been doing very well for me. But yeah, I find widgets don't convert very well, and those like fancy boxes that like everyone seems to like from like that are like a full box with all like editor's choice and stuff, they haven't done anything for me. Is generated content from Jasper SEO optimized, or do I have to do that too? You're gonna have to do the work. This is the thing. Jasper, I think a lot of people think will do everything for you, and it won't. It's more about it will write the content, especially like the first three. Like I said, we had to do a lot of work here. Typically, I write maybe one paragraph max and then just run through it. But then I SEO optimize, especially because that's what I love to do. But usually your outline is where you do more of that anyway. So since you're writing the outline, you're already SEO optimizing it, if you're including keywords anyway. How can businesses train their AI writers to create blog posts that align with their brand voice and values? So the first thing is going to be figuring out what your tone of voice is. That's going to be really important. With Jasper Chat and even ChatGPT Chat, you can input like, here's an email I wrote or something, and say, define that style as Nina's style. And then you can give it another email to write and say, write this email in Nina's style. With Jasper Boss Mode, you just do that with tone of voice. And then in the content brief, you would say like who your audience is, what your brand information and values are, and then have him run with that in his mind. Basically, it's like a notes area where you're just going to tell him like, keep this in mind as you do everything. And that's really where you'll do it. But each like boss mode document is a new document, so you'll have to fill those in each time. But as you do it, it becomes second nature and you're just copying and pasting it from the last one, basically. How much time do you think Jasper saves you overall on an average blog post? I can write a 5,000 word affiliate blog post in about 10-15 minutes now with Jasper. Doing outlines does not take me long. It takes me maybe 5 minutes on top of that. And then the formatting, now I have a VA who does it, but even when I was formatting, max half an hour. So I can get like a good 5,000 word blog post out in an hour now, where before that would take me like maybe 3 days to do one. And yeah, it really speeds things up, which is great. So I find the speed is more about learning it well enough and then going from there. But like I said, I was doing 100K words, 150K words one week, which was kind of a crazy week. But that was partially the ebook. And I was working, like I had a full-time job at a law firm. I was also freelance writing, and that didn't include like the word count. This was just for my blog word count. I was doing a lot of other jobs. So it let me do this like while I was eating dinner on the couch rather than staying up till 4 a.m. and not sleeping for 6 months, because I got into Mediavine in 6 months just writing with AI. And I believe this is the last question. So I wanted to thank everyone again for coming. I really appreciate everyone showing up, and I see tons of other questions. And yeah, if you have other questions, feel free to reach out to me at sheknowsseo.co. And don't forget to join Travelpayouts and look into all the affiliates. Like there's so many, you probably have never heard of some of them. And then when you learn about them, like I've booked stuff because I learned about the program from Travelpayouts, and I was like, I need to take this. So yeah, hope everyone has a lovely Valentine's Day, and go out and write your own Valentine's Day themed post. It's my challenge to you. Bye, everybody.